Have you ever had a brilliant idea where you go like, oh my God, this is going to set me up for life? Something like maybe a book or a post or a digital product that you think is going to be like amazing and everybody's going to be like trying to get it as fast as possible and just going to fly off the shelves, the digital shelves. Well, that could be the fact, but sometimes what happens is that when you start realizing everything that it implies, you're going to have all this attention drawn to you, and you might start thinking, okay, but I'm not an expert. I don't know what I'm doing. And the imposter syndrome starts kicking in, and you just stop, you freeze, and most of the time, you do nothing. See, for a long time, I actually believed this was a matter of being shy, being afraid of new stuff. But after a while, I have come to a realization that that's not the case, and especially based on my personal experience, as I was for almost 40 years in a brainwashing religious cult. I know that it doesn't necessarily is just being shy. It may actually be that you have been conditioned to react like that. Let me explain. In the world that we're living right now, AI is producing or helping people produce huge amounts of content. But the problem is that that content is not personalized. It's not like using the warmth of the human being behind it. It's just like a machine generated content that just goes out in like huge amounts. So you have a situation where you have to make a decision. How are you going to brand yourself? Obviously, if you want to brand your persona, the human being, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be seen. And a lot of people have problems with that. They don't want to come up in front of a camera and show themselves. I myself had that situation because, number one, I like to talk, as you can see, and I wanted to be in front of a camera, but my beliefs, the brainwashing, the conditioning that I had made it that it immediately, as soon as I started doing that, something happened and I froze and I didn't do anything. So it's something that you have to find the middle point where you decide and know exactly what you want to do. You want to avoid the self-sabotage and stick to maybe safe, faceless content, but that's not going to generate the know, like, and trust that you can use in order to actually generate an income online using the human factor, which is, in my opinion, starting from now, going forward in this world of AI, going to be really, really interesting. So let's talk for a second about how I ended up being in this situation where my conditioning almost immediately kicked in. Sadly, I have to accept the fact that part of it was my parents, especially my mom. Let me just tell you a little story about something that happened. When I was in the 9th grade or 10th grade, something like that, I was striving, and that came from me, and in part from her. You have to get good notes. So I strived to have good notes, and I did become good notes. And in fact, in the end, I was the best student in the class for that particular year. The result of that was I was supposed to get a certificate. However, that process took some time, and in the meantime, I was visiting different cities in order to get an apprenticeship. I was not there when they finally made that big reunion or big meeting where they actually presented that certificate to all the kids. So I told my mom, hey, make sure you are there and you pick up my certificate. And I said it again and again and again. Please do not forget to go and pick up the certificate. So what did she think? She thought, well, he's becoming very, very arrogant. He's becoming very vain. He's only thinking about, oh, I'm the number one in the class, and I want to have my certificate so I can show it. So what did she do? She went there, she collected the certificate, and I never seen it. Up to this day, that certificate disappeared. And that was her way of showing me or giving me a lesson as to not to be vain, as to not brag about my results, and that, embedded in mind the importance of not attracting attention to myself. It's something that you don't think about, but if you have that belief embedded in you without doing anything, suddenly, boom, when something happens, you automatically freeze and you go into automatic mode and you reject the opportunities because you do not want to attract attention to yourself. That is a safety mechanism. And your brain works automatically because we have something that we call beliefs. And those beliefs, once you have them, and they are really, really embedded into you, they will actually guide and direct how you're going to react to situations. So if you do believe that you should not attract attention to yourself, as soon as something is directing its attention to you, what are you going to do? Your personality, your behavior is going to turn around. You're going to go into that safety mode. You basically are going to sabotage yourself. And that is the problem when you want to create no like and trust on the internet, because you have to brand yourself. You have to build up your brand. And you can only do that by attracting attention to yourself. So you see the problem there. You have the side where you want to attract attention to yourself. And on the other side, you have this belief that does not allow you to do that, this conditioning that does not allow you to do that. So that's why I call it brainwashing. And it's a brainwashing that is not done intentionally. In my particular case, it was something that had to do with a religious cult, because you always had to pass the attention to God. You should not attract attention to your particular individual tiny mini self. Sad, but that's a fact. So, how do you go around and fix that problem? How do you change everything if you actually do want to generate an income online, if you want to build your brand, and if you want to generate no like and trust? Obviously, you need to attract attention to yourself. You need to put yourself out there. So how do you do that? You, number one, have to give yourself permission to change your beliefs. See, this is something that's a little bit like hard to do for a lot of people, but you have to see beliefs not as something that's fixed and cannot be changed. It's not like a brick that has been built and casted and it's hard and cannot be changed. No, beliefs are malleable. They are flexible. You only have to work on yourself in order to change that belief. And once you get to that point, then you can work based on that different belief. You can do that using emotions. You can do that using facts, reading, watching videos, and, immersing yourself in something that helps you change that belief. But it all starts with the fact that you have to, and this is like a recurring or redundant thing, because you have to give yourself permission to change that old belief into a new belief. And you have to believe that changing beliefs is possible. So once you do that, and if you go back in your life and you examine your life and yourself and the things that you used to believe and the things that you believe now, you will know that it's possible. The only difference is that it normally happens without planning. You get exposed to something and slowly, without thinking, your beliefs change. However, that's not what you want to do. You want to do that on purpose. You want to make a decision. This is the type of belief that will help me build my brand. And then you give yourself, number one, permission to change that belief. And then you pick and choose. And this is very important. You have to pick and choose a belief that will help you succeed. So, for instance, I can put myself out there and it doesn't matter because I will be building my brand. And that's not a problem. That's good. Putting myself out there, attracting attention to myself, letting people pay me attention. That's good. So that belief you can embed in yourself, you can brainwash yourself with this new belief, and then start working on generating everything that's related to that new belief, new actions, new personalities, and things that will help you build your brand. Do you have beliefs that when you look back at all the things that you have been done, like for instance, beliefs that tell you, oh, you are not good enough, or you feel like an imposter, like you're doing something where you're not an expert, but in reality, you actually know more than the majority of the people. So, do you have that type of beliefs? If that's the case, I would love for you to comment below and let me know those beliefs. And if you want to know more about how to change those beliefs and methods that you can literally use to build your brand, then also comment below. I would really, really like to have a conversation about not only the problem beliefs that people have, but also which type of beliefs can be used to actually build yourself up. Thank you, and I'll see you the next time.